Hello, my name is Rich Finelli, and this is the 13th video in my Handlebars JS video training series, Drilling into Data. And I know that that's kind of maybe a misleading title. What I want to do in this is I want to be able to go to our Game of Thrones website, and instead of clicking on this View Details button and having the character's bio kind of expand down, I want to open up a new page specifically for that character that gives more information. So that's kind of what I mean by drilling into data. I want to kind of have Handlebars render a template on a new page that only brings in the data for one character. What I have here is the JSON file that we've been using all along. There's two differences. One is the ID. Each character has their own ID. You can see Jon Snow is 0, Tyrion Lannister is 1, Bran of Tarth is 2, and so on. It's no coincidence that each object or item in this array, and all this character's property is, if we kind of collapse it, you can see these square brackets. It's just an array, and each item in the array is an object. And it's no coincidence that the first item in the array is ID 0. So the index is 0, the ID is 0. The index of the second one is 1, the ID of the second one is 1. So that's no coincidence. I'm doing that on purpose because that's going to be needed later. The second thing I added is each character has their own bio, and that's going to be the additional information that displays when we drill into data and we open up this new page. So let's do this. Let's create a new file here. I'll do command new. I'll copy everything on our index to the new page, and I'll save it. We'll call this page cast details. Now I want to change a couple things about this. One of the things we can do is we can change our H1. We can say cast details. The second thing I want to do is I want to give this page a specific class. The class I want to give it is class equals page cast details. We're going to need that because we're going to need to differentiate between our index.html and this page, because we're going to render the template differently based on which page we're on. So that's going to be helpful. The next thing I want to do and change on this template is the templates are going to be basically the same, but no longer will we have a list of characters. We're just going to have one character. So this unordered list really doesn't make sense anymore, so I'll just change it to a section tag, and this list item, we'll just have it be a div. The other thing I want to do is the button. What I want to do is, instead of saying view details, and I want it to be back. All right. And the next thing I want to do is add the bio. So let's do div.castBio, and in here we'll put a paragraph tag and then a strong tag, and we'll say bio space, and then bio. This bio tag matches what's in our cast.json file. This class I'm using, castBio, that hopefully matches up to our CSS, so we can go into style.css, and I have a class called character bio container. Let's actually use that same exact class. And that just adds a little bit of style. So now we have this cast details page created. Now what we need to do is, in our index.html file, we want to update this href. So we want to basically have it just say, all right, cast details.html. We want to add something special. We want to say, okay, well, when we go to the cast details page, we want to pass it the ID of the character, which also happens to be the index in our characters array. We'll say ID equals ID. So this will render 0 if it's Jon Snow, 1 if it's Tyrion Lannister, and so on. So that'll be helpful. So now let's go to our index.html page. We'll refresh it. And when we go to the view details page, it's not going to work, but we will notice that we get our ID. Now we're still getting every character, and we're getting this bio here. It's actually in the wrong place too, but we're getting every single character with their bio on this page. We only want to get the character we clicked on. So in this case, I clicked on Jon Snow. I only want to get that. Well, because we have this ID equals 0 query string that was passed, and if I go to click on, let's say, Brianna Tarth, whose ID is 2, we'll pass it 2. So when we get to this page, we know now, or our JavaScript could theoretically know, we're looking for the item in the array with the index of 2, because that's the ID we're passing. So we can kind of make some changes here. One of the things we have to do is I kind of put this, if we go to our cast details page, this div, we actually want to put this down here so it's on its own and not in that, so it doesn't kind of wrap weird like that. We need to figure out, okay, well, how do we get that query string? Okay, so let's go into our scripts file, and I just did a real quick Stack Overflow search, and I found this function called getParameterByName. So all it does is, okay, it says, okay, I got a query string, and it just gets the value of that query string. So I can use getParameterByName to get the query string. So for instance, what I can do is I can say, all right, well, var character ID equals, and I can just call that function getParameterByName, and I just pass it a string ID. And then we could do console.log character ID, and then we can look for the character ID. So I think that should work. So this ID should match up to this right here, so it's going to look for that, and then it's going to give me the value of that. So let's inspect. Go to the console, and then we'll refresh it, and we can see character ID is 2, so we're getting that. And if I go back to the previous page and I go to, let's say, Eddard Stark, now we're getting Eddard Stark's character ID. So in JavaScript, we can get that. So that's going to be really helpful now. And remember what we also did is we gave our cast details page a special class, page cast details. So we're going to need that. So I'm going to copy that and go into scripts.js. And now what we're doing is, when we're bringing in our JSON, we are also, we're just getting everything, and we're loading everything in that cast, we're in that cast object into our templates. What we really want to do is we want to say, well, if, let's say, body dot has class page cast details. And then else, if it doesn't have that class, meaning it's the index.html page, we'll do what we normally do. If it is the cast details page, we want to do it a little differently. So we'll say, we want to get now not just the whole cast object, which is, if you want to think of it, kind of like everything, this entire object. We want to go drill right into the array and then into the index of the array that we're trying to get the character for. So in this case it would be cast.characters, and then we could say like 0. So let's just do 0. So that'll always give us Jon Snow now, in theory. So we'll go back here, and if I click on Jon Snow, we get an error. Let's see what it is. Oh, I know why. We weren't getting an error, but the problem was I forgot one thing in here. I still have my each. So I'm no longer doing an each. So that each is changing the context. So if I get rid of that each, now we're just kind of delivering this template. So now I get Jon Snow, and I get his bio. So if I go back and I click on Tyrion Lannister, I'm getting Jon Snow. So that's because I'm always passing it the index of 0. But instead, I'm getting the character ID from the query string. So what I can do is now pass, instead of giving it an actual number, I can say, all right, well, whatever's in that query string, that's the index I want. So now we can see it's Tyrion Lannister. Now if I go back, the back button doesn't work. Let's just fix that real quick. I'll say href equals index.html, on our castdetails.html page. So now back goes back. If I click on Brienne of Tarth, I get Brienne of Tarth and I get her bio. I'm drilling into the data. I'm getting more detail. That's pretty neat. So in conclusion, my name is Rich Finelli, and this is the second to last video in the Handlebars JS video training course that's all completely for free on YouTube. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to take our two handlebars templates, the one on the index page and the one on the cast details page, and we're going to combine those into one partial file. This way, since most of the HTML is the same, we can keep it in one place. This way, when we have to make updates, we can do it in one source of truth instead of making the change in two places, giving us more room for error. We don't want that. If you like this video and you're interested in learning about CSS, I urge you to check out my Mastering CSS video course, which is 180 minutes of training on CSS. It's a paid course available on Pact Publishing, or you can go to mastering-css.com and learn more about it there.